late night, and there's been something on my mind something on my heart that I feel like was just important to capture because I think somebody will need to hear it. I remember like staying up as a little girl and just picturing this like picture perfect family that I was going to have when I was older, and um, it was a healthy home, emotionally safe home. I think that was always a big one. And when I decided to end my marriage, it was for that goal. Yeah, it was clear to me that the dynamic we had with both parents in the same house, it just was never going to create that. And I think for the women, mostly that are worried about taking big life changes like that, there's some good studies and data out there about how children really need one emotionally safe home and one emotionally safe parent to really thrive. And I think that's important to keep in mind because I think I was surprised to learn when I ended my marriage how much judgment and criticism, society like still gives to women who decide to end their marriage. Um, there was a lot of like, sure you've thought about the kids, or I'm sure you've thought this through and really thought about the kids, and you know, like implied insinuation that my kids weren't at the heart of everything in that decision making. And I think from the outside, I know it can be an emotional roller coaster, but I think one of the hardest moments is being like judged. It's been a week since I filed the restraining order for emotional harm, and had some events happen, since then that I need to update. But I don't think we talk enough about how incredibly like complex and painful just relationships can be, even when they end. Yeah. And I think that's been the hardest work. I think looking from the outside, to me, feels unreal, to be like taking the steps that I'm taking to just protect our stability, and our health and our needs from my children's father. Like, to me, I just like am still wrapping my head around that. And I know I've received judgment about like, oh, you're so angry for doing this, or just forgive, or work it out, and I think I don't know, to anyone going through it, just know that like I think sometimes judgment's the easiest thing that other people can do to just kind of get through something that they can't understand. Because the real complexity of these dynamics can be so incredibly painful. I was talking to the mediator in one of our sessions, and we had gotten we were allowed to be in separate rooms, so I got one-on-one time, and she was just asking about our history, and I was like, gosh, I met their dad when I was 14 years old. We started dating when I was 18. Those were two different people than who sits here today, but at the same time, we grew up together, you know, and I don't think people understand that, like, if you're having to, like, restrain from engaging with somebody who can be so hurtful and harmful and just your well-being, how much restraint that takes, that it's not out of a coldness or lack of feeling or empathy, you know, because it's like every day in this process, whenever something comes up, I just want to call him, and just kind of be like, what are you doing? Like, wake up. This is serious. Snap out of it. Like, this isn't a joke, and hard to restrain from engaging in a pattern that's been so familiar for so long, while also knowing that that pattern that you engage in is such a source of harm. And a friend of mine would always say, like, the best way to win a tug of war, or the only way to think to win a tug of war, is just to let go. If you're going through a similar situation and you're just having a hard time, they just want you to know it makes sense. Sometimes we build patterns with people in our life where just any engagement with them um, feels like connection, you know, even when it's so unhealthy. And if you're trying to break out of that, um, it can be a lot like what I imagine is trying to break free from an addiction, you know? Because my body, I feel this like urge to engage, urge to reason, urge to overfunction and talk some sense into him. And it's such a strong urge, but it's also like a really slippery slope, you know? I just know I'll never break this habit if I keep engaging in this way. Because the pull is strong. The want for something familiar can be so strong, even if it's the familiar you're wanting to get away from. Because I know the pattern of engaging and fighting. It's really familiar, you know? So not engaging is the healthiest path, but it's incredibly painful. You know, I think especially from a like parent as a parent role, you know, it can be really challenging because I can feel the like, gosh, if I could just get him to see what he's doing, you know, if I could just have one more chance to like talk some sense into him. But it's like that chance was long gone. So there's days when there's like incredible rage and anger, but there's also days where there's just incredible pain and grief. And so if you're going through a hard season like this, and the relationship in your life has changed so profoundly, you know, this is your permission slip just to take good care of yourself, you know, to allow yourself that time to grieve, and allow yourself some self-compassion for how much energy and want and desire you might have to still fix things that aren't really yours to fix, you know. And it can be so hard to see somebody like physically in front of you. Gosh, it's just so familiar, you know, but so unreachable. It can be excruciatingly painful, you know, and I think even though that's not fun, you know, feeling the pain is a much healthier path through than continuing to engage in a familiar but completely harmful dynamic over and over and over again. If you're going through it and you're struggling with being judged, you know, for your decisions, people who think for seeing how people perceive you for just decisions that you made with important reasons, you know, important values, it gets easier, I would say, you know, when you get through that hurdle and you realize, like, gosh, that everyone's judgment is really a little bit about their own. perspective, their own view, like they don't know what's happening. Um, and the judgment's painful, you know. So you learn to judge less. You know, you learn to judge other people less because you know how painful it can be to be judged. And I think the most important thing that really like is helping and whoever needs to hear it, like I want you to see, you know, um, you can handle the painful parts. You know, it's 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 gonna be okay. You know, it's not gonna be how you wanted it. It's not gonna be picture perfect anymore. I think picture perfect's really overrated. You know, and I think that's the beauty that you get to learn when you can sit in this ugly, messy chapter in your life and you can still sit at home, you know, a home that you built that's emotionally safe. And you know, just knowing that like you're doing the thing that you didn't do before, you know, you're feeling the hard feelings. And that maybe it was always like the sneaky trick to like just figuring out a better path through. And it wasn't anything up here that you needed to do. It was a lot of like making space to cry, grieve, and feel the frustration and distract yourself from wanting to engage in past habits, like calling up the phone to someone who was once so familiar, and just trying to talk some reason into them. So I know in my house, over the last couple of weeks, it's become quite kind of normal, you know, for all these puppy eyes to be showing or just tears strolling down and I'm like doing the dishes or something like that. And I think these hard steps couldn't have come without having done the work to actually like sit with all those feelings, you know, the the anger, the grief, the bitterness, the resentment, the grief and the grief and the anger and the fear and the disbelief, you know, just oh my gosh, just allowing space for all of it. It's really important work. So I hope you're allowing space for it. Um, I know I am, and I think you know as much as you can, like find the pockets of people who understand, you know, because I know that that's been really helpful. Um, just have people who aren't judging or who aren't asking you to educate them on everything that is different from how it looked from the outside. Uh, I could just like hold space and understand that it's hard and it's a lot of emotions and it's scary. You know, it's scary, I think, to just kind of even be voicing like, I don't really know this person. Like, I know the patterns. It's clearly not somebody that I can reach anymore. You know, yeah, so lots of prioritizing self care. You know, and some valuable lessons learned from the past. You know, not doing that will not make the journey any easier. Allowing for it will, gosh, it's like your life raft. You know,